From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up! Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
and this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill
One ball, corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hutchavandi.
and Corey Clark.
I know you heard me on the radio.
Wake up! What is up? It is Wake Up Warchant. It is presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill in Tallahassee, Florida. Come on out Friday to the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Jeff Cameron, Corey Clark, live happy hour from 5 to 6 p.m., getting you ready for the big spring game weekend, and then Saturday, game day, if you will. Go over to Hotel Indigo in College Town. Pretty sure it's the hotel that says hotel on it. Can't miss it. Meet and greet, noon. Even the big dog, Irish O'Fell, should be out for that one. Then a pregame show with Jeff and Tom at 1 o'clock. A watch-through. Apparently, I guess Gene and Tom are going to interact with everybody live during the Garnet and Gold game, offering their, I think, in-game analysis.
Come on, Aslan. You come on, you go to these meetings. Come on, buddy. Don't act like that's a surprise. By the way, are you going to be at CP?
I don't know yet. We're going to draw up some. Tune in, everybody. Go over there and find out.
I mean, you're going to have some fans there, man. I think you should at least stop by and say hello. The Masters will be on. It's Major League Baseball starting up. I really don't know why you wouldn't be there, other than you hate your fans.
I don't like how you put that. And I know that Gene and Tom are doing this watch through. I still don't know exactly what a watch through is. I think it's kind of like live watching the game with your buddies. I guess we'll be doing it on YouTube. I should probably know more about that. I'll know more about it when we do our final show of the week on Friday. I assure you all that. But tune in for that. And then afterwards, there will be a post-game show with Gene and Tom. So, man, we got you folks covered. We're treating this like a real...
Gene and Tom.
Yeah.
It's a lot of Gene and Tom there. But, yeah, you can follow along and watch. Obviously, they can't, broadcast the game. Yeah. But you'll get their instant reactions to a good play or a bad play, and it's something we're tinkering with to see if maybe we unveil it in a real way. It's a spring game; we can tinker. It's a good word, tinker. You don't use that a lot. Great verb to tinker with things. And then we'll see if we use it more during the regular season. Maybe there'll be maybe me and Ira in the press box. You can watch us and just hear me say the most sarcastic stuff for 3.5 hours. Aslan's lived that life. It's fun, right?
I miss it, man. Well, they're going to do Zoom post-game on Saturday, so I might stay in my perch at the Midtown offices and then come back out and do the we'll still have a War Chant wrap with Ira and Corey, so if you want their opinions on everything, you'll have it. So we've got you covered live, recorded, the day after, 2 days after. Can't stop, won't stop. Warchant.com. Thoughts, Corey, on the Garnet and Gold game not really being a game per se? Sounds like it'll be an offense versus defense sort of format. I say
that's
boo.
The way
I say boo.
It's fine. Boo. It's fine. I like that better anyway. Because then you're not like, okay, well he got 2 good receivers and he's got all the good defensive linemen. It's like, all right, it's just offense versus defense. I don't know if they'll score it the way they used to do back in the day. Remember Bobby's? They had a weird scoring system. Like if the defense got a stop, it was 3 points. If they forced if they had an interception, it was 5 points. All that craziness. It's just you're looking. Who cares? Can you name one? Literally, I don't even remember what team Jameis was playing for. I'm pretty sure his team won, but was he on the Garnet or the Gold? I don't know. I mean, nobody really cares who wins these things. It's just you want to see certain players in certain segments play well, and you'll get to see that even if they're not like, Garnet beats Gold 28-24.
Okay, all right. I get it. But just would have been. I think you've got enough pieces that you can do something comparable of a game. I mean, I don't need to roll out the one team offense, but yeah, I mean, throw Maurice and then 2 backups and then 1 starting tackle and then a backups tackle, and then give Tate like Caden Lyles. Anyhow, Saturday 5 o'clock, Doak Campbell Stadium. Be there for it. Practice later on today as we're listening to this. This will be the 12th practice of the spring. The 13th practice will be Friday. Garnet and Gold game counts as the 14th, and then next Tuesday will be the 15th and final. So we'll still have plenty to talk about here in the coming days. But, Corey, let's get to our folks, our people. Renegade Express, warchant.com, Tribal Council. We love you, folks. They're back, and they're back with a vengeance. Lots of graphs, lots of reading for your guy today. Let's go to random_John. Good morning, Aslan and Corey. Hope you both find yourself feeling great on this fine day. Thank you, John.
Yeah, thanks, John. I appreciate that. I do.
As for me, John, I find myself in a sports introspection mode. As a kid, I looked at sports as a game. People played, they won, they lost. At the end, they shook hands. I was woefully unaware that sports was a business, meaning it was not enough to play the game. It was play, win, and win at all costs. Once upon a time ago, that meant blatant cheating, whether it was SMU, Miami, Oklahoma, Alabama, etc. Then, if you got caught, there were repercussions that set you back years. Now everything is in the open, and we are off to the races, and I find myself questioning what is the sport of football now versus what it once was. Take our beloved Noles and the win-at-all-costs model in which we find ourselves in. We are, quote, all in on football and not as much in on other sports. More money will have to be diverted to football in the hopes that football will be relevant on the big stage once more. However, can FSU really afford to go, quote, all in? Look at how much schools in the SEC are openly paying players. A&M comes to mind on the big payday for players. Texas's offensive line gets paid $50,000 a year. I don't know if that's accurate, but maybe it is. I think $5,000 for each offensive lineman. I guess if you have 10 of them.
I thought it was 50.
No.
I think you might be right there. I thought it was 50.
Okay.
5? Good grief. Alcorn State is paying 5. This is University of Texas at Austin, man. They're going to do what they got to do.
Television money ensures other programs are buried in so much money that Scrooge McDuck would blush. So where does this income gap leave FSU now, and where does it leave FSU in 5 years? Can we buy all the good players? Can we have all the nice things? Can we have all of the coaches? If FSU does not win at the clip we hope they will, what happens then? If we are going all in now and fail, will that mean we have nothing left in the tank to go even more all in? If we currently have more money to go all in, then what is stopping us from doing that? For our sake, I hope this money spending is worth it. I shudder to imagine what the alternative looks like. Speaking of going all in, go all in, eat Zaxby's, then drive down the road and eat at Corner Pocket. Use their Wi-Fi to subscribe to Warchant. Go Noles.
They do have Wi-Fi. Great little hotspot there at Corner Pocket that you can use, that you can hook up to the Wi-Fi. Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, and that's the thing I was wondering, kind of when all the Krikorian stuff broke. And look, it wasn't like they weren't offering Krikorian money. I think he was going to be the highest paid coach in the country, or one of the top 3 or 4, maybe the number 1, which was well-deserved. He is the best coach in the country. But so it wasn't just about the money. It was about future projects and fundraising and finances and resources and that kind of stuff. But when it comes to football, that's my concern is, okay, again, they're not just ignoring women's sports or ignoring the sports that don't make money. They still want to be good in those things. But yes, you can see there's more of a dedication to how many analysts you need, Mike? Okay, we're going to do our best. What crazy title are you going to give this person? Cool. Just tell us what to put on the business cards. And they're doing that. They're giving him a big staff. But yes, it's like you're still a lap and a half behind what the SEC can spend. It's, you know what I mean? It's like putting fresh tires on a car that still doesn't have anywhere close to the engine that the Mercedes. I'm doing a Formula One analogy.
I love it. I'm here for it.
I'm like Williams Racing over here. Hey, we got these awesome new tires. All right, well, they still got that engine that goes 20 miles an hour faster than we do. So we have no chance anyway. So what is even the point of spending money on these tires? It's just to keep you competitive, essentially. And yeah, but there is, especially when the new deals come out in a couple years, when legitimately SEC schools will be making $35 million more a year than ACC schools. What does all this mean, man? It's again, I don't even want to get into it, but it's driving into a mountain, this sport, unless something changes. But yes, Florida State's got to do what it can to try to keep up as best as it can, and that does mean more money towards football, and it means more, the Rising Spear and these other NIL places, these other NIL companies, this is the only way you can really keep up, is to figure out a way to make it enticing to come to Florida State. Now, not every recruit needs a 6-figure deal, but the ones that matter, the ones in the top 50, top 70 in the country in those rankings, well, they probably do. So that's the reality we live in. And the SEC, like you said, the SEC, Texas, those schools, I guess Texas is the SEC now, or soon, they can afford to pull in and pull their resources together and bring better players. And that's where we are with this sport.
It's a little bit unsettling maybe for some, a little bit gross, if you will. Not all restaurants are up to the task of being a hibachi place, right? Like, you maybe don't want to see it all being made. We don't want to see the sausage being made. We realize this was going on. But NIL, which on the surface seemed like a very kind of practical move to help create some sort of equity with these athletes, it's not an NIL, man. Listen, we're talking about creating a fund to secure recruits. We are paying players to attend Florida State. That's a bit unsettling. We realize that's how we got some guys. But listen, again, man, I like hibachi. I like seeing some of my food made. Some of my stuff I don't want to see all being made.
I'm not taking a shot at people in particular. I'm just using the name because it just popped into my head. But who is more valuable to Florida State right now this season, Jamie Robinson or Ryan Bartow? But Ryan Bartow gets to make $100,000 a year to be director of recruiting or player personnel or whatever his title is. Meanwhile, for all of eternity, Jamie Robinson, if he was going to make any money at Florida State, would have to make it under the table or with a $50, $100, $500 handshake. At least now it's above board, it's above table, and they do deserve something. Like, again, he means more on Saturdays to this team than how many people you got. What do you got? 20 people making between $80,000 and $100,000 in support staff, and their whole job is Florida State football. Well, this is an actual Florida State football player. That's an all-conference player, and I know but I hear what you're saying. It's just because it's so new and well, man, my biggest problem with that.
I got no problem with Jamie and Kevin Noles.
It's the high school guys. But again, I think, look, so A&M, I literally can't even fathom what they paid for this recruiting class, because they just had a dude that didn't he reclassified to be a senior.
Something like that, some 5-star.
Yeah, and then they signed him, and he's another defensive lineman, and he was going to be like the number one defensive lineman in the 2023 class. He reclassified to 2022, and now he's a part of that stat class that Jimbo brought in.
Lebus Overton. What a
name.
What a Texas A&M name right there.
Where's he from? Odessa?
I'm trying to find
He's got to be somewhere deep in the heart. So they've got, I don't know, 8 defensive linemen that would have been the best signee that Florida State would have had this year. Well, all 8 of those guys aren't going to play. And that money won't matter so much. You know what I mean? Like, yeah okay, we're going to we'll give you your $80,000, but you're still third team. Well, all right. Well, then that guy might say, "Hey, Florida State, can you offer me 60, but I get to play?" I mean, that's the next level to all this, is the guys that are getting paid at these schools that are unhappy because they're not getting on the field. Because yeah, it's great to make money, but you can make money anywhere now, and at other places you can actually play. Yeah. So I think that's where Norvell, there's a little niche there, a little gray area where he can find some players that way. But it's going to be really hard to outbid all of these schools, and that's what it is. And I get that's the icky part. Is it's not about recruiting. It's not about Mike Norvell's personality. It's not about the facilities or the history or tradition. It's about $800,000 versus $250,000. Well, who among us would say, you know what, I'm going to turn down $550,000 extra because I like the head coach over there? Yeah, it's just not. It's not practical. And until this gets figured out, this will always be an issue. But you do have the portal now, where you can go swoop in a year or two and get those guys back after they've made their $800,000. Now they're rich. Now they put money away for their grandkids, and they can just go play football for you. So, but yeah, I get it. It's kind of icky.
And just the last one on that, as we transition to our next question on the Renegade Express. One of the parts of random _ John's question was kind of, what happens if we go all in and fail, and does it mean we have nothing left in the tank? If we fail, it all depends on your next hire. Like if they end up hiring somebody that you as a fan are really super excited about, you'll probably end up still donating money to the school.
Sure.
So that's what it all comes down to. If this guy succeeds, we're all good. If he fails, I think there's enough motivation. There will always be enough motivation with the people that have the means, that love this university, that they will quote unquote step up and try to figure out and get it right. So
and also you got to remember too, like Florida State, I know they're not competing with Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State and Texas and Oklahoma right now. Maybe they get back on that plateau someday with those teams. But right now, just beat NC State and Wake Forest, man. And you will always have the resources to do that. Mm-hmm. You will never be like way behind the game when it comes to out boostering Wake Forest. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the Atlantic, the ACC, what do we call it? Atlantic. I almost called it the East. What's the matter with you, Clark? Get it together. The ACC Atlantic. You make more. You bring in more money. You bring in more revenue. You have more. You probably have more booster money than all of those teams not named Clemson. Especially now that Papa John's, is he in jail? I don't remember what the end of his story was.
He's free.
But whatever happened to him, there's no excuse to lose to the Syracuse's, Wake Forest, Boston colleges of the world because you make more money. You still have more resources than almost everybody in the conference. Literally not named Clemson, I would think, right?
Correct.
So there's no excuses, even if you're not getting the guys that Alabama and Georgia want, you still should be out recruiting and out spending every other player in the conference.
All right, next question. Cat Chaser. Wake up. We were all left disappointed on early signing day, specifically after the loss of commits Travis Hunter and Devon Mortimer. Other than these two, we landed all of our current commits. Since early signing day, we have learned that Mortimer had some legal troubles. We have also learned that Hunter had known since September that he was going to Jackson State, continued to visit Tallahassee and celebrating in the locker room after wins, knowing he was not coming.
Did we know that?
I don't know.
How do we know that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's – I don't know. I don't know about that. But we'll take him at his word. He's an Eastlake alum. That's my high school. Shout out.
Nice.
He would keep coming to the locker room and celebrating with wins, even knowing he wasn't coming to FSU, never speaking to Coach Norvell or Woodson, even after flipping, etc. So let's assume that Azareye'h Thomas would not have signed with FSU if Travis Hunter did not flip. So here we are 4 months later, spring football coming to an end. We are learning how good Azareye'h is as a player and a recruit. So since signing day, we have learned that the two flips have what we would maybe call character issues, and that this Hunter swap for Thomas is looking like a high-quality recruit. Looking back, are we better or better off knowing what we know now? Hold that thought. This is then quoted and replied to by Grumpy BK with no. But if this is what helps you sleep at night, have at it. Yeah, sorry, man. Just there's nothing, there's no net positive from losing Travis Hunter. There just isn't.
Well, look, no, the first blush to that question, absolutely not. Let's see what he ends up being. If he's as good as he's purported to be, then yeah, no, there's no real positive to that. I will say, if that's true, and I'm taking that with a grain of salt. Not that I don't trust the poster, I just don't know. The kid might say, kids say weird, crazy things all the time. Yeah, I knew since September. I was probably going, nah, maybe you didn't, man. There's no way you were locked and loaded at Jackson State in September, especially when Dion mysteriously went away for 2.5 weeks. There's just no way. But if that's the case, like that he still hasn't talked to Norvell and Woodson, which probably not, and maybe let's say he did know that in September 15th, yeah, man, I'm going to go to Jackson State and I'm going to shock the world, but it has to be shocking, meaning I can't let it leak at all. So I will play along that I'm going to Florida State. I'll let Georgia fans think I'm going there because they thought that the night before signing day too, that he was going to Georgia. So I'm going to let all these schools think that Florida State most of all, and then I'm going to shock the world. Well, if he did that, then yeah, screw him. That's just gross. Like, these are people's lives at stake, man. Like, and they put a lot of time and effort into you. And the least you could do, the very least you could do, is say, Coach, man, I'm very, very sorry. They've offered me however you have to explain it. And we know that this was not a free he is just not going by the graces of his good nature to go to Jackson State and build up a historically black college. That is not why he's going there. That it might be a perk, but he's going there because he's the number one player in the country, man. We just talked about what Texas is giving guys. Come on, let's be real here. But that being said, if he was that kind of kid that like dragged them along and knew for 3 months that he was going to go somewhere else, but did not tell them all up until, yeah, man, you're not better off without him, but that kind of, doesn't that rub you the wrong way? It's kind of gross. to treat like grown men like that?
I just don't believe in this day and age an 18-year-old kid is going to keep a secret for that long. Sorry.
Well, that would be like, right, yeah. I mean, he could, but, man, then he's acting for 3.5 months. And all those things he did on social media, that's all an act. Yuck. But, yeah, if we found out if he really did come out and say, yeah, I knew in September, I'd be like, well, yeah, man, that's kind of gross. Wish you hadn't have done that. Good luck. But let's see. Look, man, I'm going to say that I think that's a huge loss, clearly. But let's see what Travis Hunter's career ends up being, and let's see what Azareye'h's career ends up being. Because I think the poster might be right in that sense. Do they get him if Travis Hunter comes?
I think so, yeah. I mean, they had room for him. I don't think that would have scared him away. Because,
but maybe,
again,
an offer gets juiced up. I mean, that's the reality we're talking about, man. All of a sudden, there's more money freed up.
Yeah.
That wasn't there for Azareye'h.
Well, I think that went to Julian Armella, kind of sort of adds it up a little bit.
It could have gone to both of them, man. They were both signing day guys.
The only reason I push back on that is because he was leaning towards Florida at one point. That head coaching situation getting turned over affected him. Oklahoma was a team he was leaning towards at one point. They lost their head coach. LSU was a place he was leaning to for one point. They lost their head coach. Like, the whole thing was the constant was like Norvell was here, like staying on top of him, constantly recruiting him. So I don't know how much. I mean, listen, I'm sure he got some sort of inducement or whatever we call it, enticement.
Yeah.
But I don't know just how much of it
payment.
was like, oh, we lost.
We just call it payment.
Okay. I don't know how much of it was like, oh, we lost Travis Hunter, so now we got this guy in the bag. But we'll see, man. But then at the same time, I don't know, man. Travis Hunter is going to be able to do whatever he wants in Jackson State, man. He's not going to, he's going to be able to do whatever he wants. What
does that mean?
I don't think he's going to be coached as hard, have as much expectation and accountability held over his head as he would if he was at a major Division I Power 5 school like Florida State. So, however his career ends up, I can't say if he somehow becomes a bust in Jackson State. I don't know if I would say that he would be a bust if he was at Tallahassee. Because I do think he would have better coaching. Maybe not better coaching because Dion knows the ins and outs of playing defensive back, but he's going to have a much better infrastructure around him.
Sure, absolutely.
So, but listen, I like Azareye'h Thomas. Absolutely, man. That's cool. But again, I'm not going to sit here and try to convince myself we're better off without Travis Hunter. So.
Well, it's going to be fascinating to follow his career too, right? Like what he ends up doing because do you remember there was an ESPN show, and I'll make it quick, where Dick Butkus took over as a high school football for a real high school. It was somewhere in Pennsylvania where he became the head coach for a season. And it was an ESPN like reality show, and it wasn't a very good high school. They hadn't won a lot of games.
Bound for Glory.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
You already looked it up? Yeah. Look at you. Yeah. And so, the whole premise was this guy is locked and loaded. He loves coaching these kids. It makes him feel young again. It's reignited his passion for the sport. The dude left before the last game of the season because the contract was up.
Can I read the Wikipedia entry?
Sure.
All right, so he coaches this team in Pennsylvania. It says here, the Spartans, this was Montour High School in Pittsburgh. They were a perennial Pennsylvania state champion contender in the 50s and 60s, but had consistent losing records since. Butkus coached the team to a 1-6 record before leaving, claiming he had fulfilled his contract for the show. He was highly critical of the players and chided them for their poor attitude. The end.
Yeah. So, but the show presented as, man, he's loving life. He's turning these guys into men. He loves football again. The dude left before the season was over. So I don't know what kind of analogy I'm drawing here, but let's see where Travis Hunter is in this time next year. Okay. I mean, let's just see, man. Like he might give himself a year at Jackson State. He made the big splash. He'll probably win them a ton of games, and he'll be very good. I do not foresee that guy wanting to continually play in front of 18 or 16 or 14,000 people when he could be playing in a neutral site for Alabama, for Florida State, for Georgia, and be a Heisman contender. And the money that would come there. Like he could double his. If he has a really good year at Jackson State, who knows what his asking price would be? And I know that's gross. Again, you probably don't want to hear that stuff, but that's the life we're living right now. So there's more money for him to be out there making, and it won't just be at Jackson State.
Just do want to clarify one thing, though. Jackson State has the highest attendance they're like top 5 attendance in all of FCS. And their home games.
I mean, I'm talking about like when he's on the road, man. Some of those stadiums don't seat 15,000 people, man.
Right, you're right.
Bacon, cheese, and bacon, cheese, and bacon, cheese, and bacon, cheese, and bacon, cheese.
cheese and bacon, cheese and bacon, cheese and bacon, cheese and bacon, cheese and bacon. It's the new signature club with, bacon and cheese. Only at Zaxby's.
And don't forget to listen in for the Zaxby's indescribably good Player of the Week every Monday on Wake Up Warchant.
M. Adam CZ, it's our guy Mark. Wake up! Very sorry to say I cannot make the spring game.
What in the world?
Come on, man.
That's do you gonna read? You gonna continue reading the question?
No, man. Skip
All right,
over
who's
that.
next?
Grumpy BK. I'm just kidding. Mark says, my boys, of course, are loaded with sports for the weekend, and the drive from Naples is simply too far. I would drive 20 hours if I had the free weekend. If you have a Zoom option, I'll be there. Maybe we could. Maybe we'll Zoom up the meet and greet at Hotel
Well,
Indigo.
Jeff and I will be on TV or the live. We'll be doing the happy hour thing. That's on YouTube.
And then the pregame show with Jeff and Tom.
Yeah.
That'll be on YouTube as well. So check it out, Mark. Reading the observations from Tuesday's practice, seems like the defense is really stepping up. Or is the offense, and this may hit a nerve with Corey, just not very good? Norvell produced fantastic offensive numbers at Memphis, and you can't tell me that he was working with more talent. And aside from maybe Clemson, he won't be going against elite defenses in many games this fall. Is there reason for major concern, or am I overreacting? Thanks as always. Hope you have a fantastic weekend for the spring game and a huge turnout from Warchant Nation. I'll be there in spirit or by Zoom. Go Noles. Let's score some freaking points in the spring game. M. Adam CZ. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole edict this year. That's what has to change. In fact, I'm when the people are listening to this, I think I'll have my column up on the site where I researched Aslan.
Ooh.
2019 and 2021, I went and tracked all the teams that won 8 games or more, and what they averaged points per game, and what they averaged passing yards per game. And as you might imagine, it's substantially more than what Florida State averaged last year.
Okay.
I think in 2019, the average was around 250 passing yards per game for those teams and 34 points, 33 and a half points. Some of it is skewed because Alabama, but then Iowa's out here winning 8 games, averaging 20 points a game. Well, it helps that they had like the number 8 scoring defense in the country. So that's the thing. You can't win at this level with an offense like this that is produced like this unless you are great on the other side of the ball. Like Iowa did it, Wisconsin did it last year. They had the number 4 scoring defense in the country, number 1 total defense. So yeah, they don't pass for a ton of yards and they don't score a lot of points. Well, they have a great defense, so they can get away with it. You don't. Even if this defense is improved from last year, none of us think it's going to be great. You have to go score points. The number you're looking to get is around 33 and a half points per game, which is an extra touchdown per game. If you can't get there, you are not going to win 8 games. It's almost guaranteed. I think in those 2 years, I didn't count 2020 because obviously it was a COVID year and it was weird. The Pac-12 only played 4 games. I just did Power 5 teams. But in 19 and 21, there were a total of 58 teams that won 8 games. 50 of them scored more points. 51 scored more points than Florida State did last year. You have to score more points. I know that's a dumb thing to say. Of course, you always wanting to score more points, but if this offense does not improve almost drastically to the 33, 34 points per game level, you're going to be mired at 5-7, 6-6 again. And you've got to throw the ball downfield. Again, these aren't random numbers. You've got to throw for about 245, 250 yards per game with the way your defense plays to have a chance at 8 wins. That's my opinion anyway, and the facts seem to back it up. And last year you threw for about 200, like right on the nose, like 201 or something like that. You've got to add 45 to 50 passing yards per game and another touchdown per game. So we'll see if they can do it. Saturday will be a good place to start.
I just wonder what Louisville looks like, or maybe not Louisville. I wonder what NC State looks like right now. Like that one Thursday that we had where, again, the offense was just clicking on all cylinders. All throws were beautiful, and when they weren't, the catches were amazing. Like, how many of those days do they have? If they were doing that every single day, I would think we would move 8 wins up to the floor. Like, if they practiced, even if that would have been the defense looking quote-unquote bad this entire time, I think we would have explained it away like, whatever, green jersey, et cetera, defense will, they'll get better, and they lost Jermaine, they'll figure it out. But I just wonder, like, what were we thinking? Like, what were we trying to envision we were going to see on a day-to-day basis that would make us think, yeah, they got this thing in the bag. I think right now you look at them, you think like they're in that 6 to 8 win kind of window. Based on what we've seen, I really haven't kind of changed anything based off these sort of observations. So,
yeah, especially like the last week, like you said, the offense has been kind of essentially dominated. They've been dominated by this defense, especially in passing plays, and that concerns you because if you can't score points in 2022, unless you have an elite defense, which you will not have, it's going to be tough to win more games than you lose. It just is. I haven't seen, again, a lot of it is, offensive line play. We don't know if the receivers are getting open. It has not seemed to be much different Jordan Travis, which again, the Jordan Travis they had last year was good enough to win 8 games if he'd have played every game. He went 5-3 as a starter. One of those losses was in overtime to Notre Dame, and the 2 he lost, one at Clemson and one at Florida. If he can stay healthy and play all those games, he's probably, maybe their numbers are better. I don't know. The last 3 games of the season, my man averaged 250 yards a game passing. That's what you need. That's why they went 2-1. And they were close. If he doesn't get hurt in the Florida game, they probably win that game, or at least it's, they have a chance there at the end instead of having the shortest onside kick in history. And so that's what you need. You need what he looked like against Boston College. You've got to make plays passing. You've got to make plays through the air. You've got more weapons. That's the number one thing. Really, that's the only thing I would be looking for on Saturday. I know Bethune can play. I know Jamie Robinson can play. Akeem Dent apparently can play. Can Jordan Travis make throws in the middle of the field, and can he make throws downfield? And can he get rid of the ball quick, and do they look like a legitimate college football passing offense? That's what you got to see. The legs will always be there. To take the next step, you've got to average about 250 You need to find 45, 50 more passing yards per game, in my opinion.
And you went and got some receivers, so hopefully that helps.
Yep.
And your offensive line theoretically should be better. So
probably won't be on Saturday.
Correct.
But it definitely will be better. I think it definitely will be better in August.
Okay. Well said. Grumpy BK. I don't think we can do this one. He basically wants us. He's giving us a scenario where we play head coach for the LSU game, and then he wants us to name one of the following from each category. So I don't think you're going to want to do this. I don't necessarily want to do it. I would do this if we're hanging out Saturday at our meet and greet, 1 o'clock at Hotel Indigo. Not sure if I want to publish it for posterity to 20,000 people. But he wants us to name one player that we would sit or demote that people are expecting to start, one player that we would like to elevate that is expected to be a second stringer, and one player we expect that will transfer out of the program. But
let's not do that.
But he wants us to limit it to the 2 deep.
I appreciate it, but Aslan's right. Let's do that over a beer or something. I don't want to, because there are, I know people. I'm not trying to couch or be a coward or anything, but I don't know that that's fair to people. We do have a platform and a microphone, and thousands of people listen to this, and I don't want to necessarily be throwing a kid under the bus and saying, "Oh, he definitely should transfer," or "He's not very good and he doesn't need to start." I don't know.
Yeah. What I will say, the transferring out of the program limited to the 2 deep, I wouldn't think that's going to happen. If you're on the 2 deep, I don't think you leave. I don't think you're going to be asked to leave either.
Correct.
So
I think it's the guys that find themselves on 3rd team are having a lot of conversations with themselves and people close to them about maybe let's find a different place to be. Yeah. Especially if you've been here 2 or 3 or 4 years and you're still not cracking the 2 deep. Yeah, man, it's time to maybe move it on down the road.
Yeah. And I don't think there's anybody out there that you guys are expecting to start that Corey and I are like, oh, no, that guy doesn't have it. So that kind of eliminates that one too.
Kind of, right? Like there's like that one, there's not even anybody. I mean, there's 10 names that come to mind about transferring. Right. Again, I'll rattle them off to you if you buy me a vodka and water. But as far as that, I don't know that there's anybody that people are high on that I'm not. Or people, you know what I mean? I just think they're all kind of meeting their expectations right now.
BC Noles 16, they're back. I thought we lost them to the Cameron Show. Ever since we added the Cameron Show to the Warchant properties, they've thought they've been cheating on us. But he's here, or maybe it's she. Maybe
I
it's
don't
just
think
his
it's
wife or the
cheating if
dog.
it's in the same
I know.
family.
I'm just being self-deprecating. What is your favorite alternative uniform? That's the only question I can think of that Gator Kirk has not asked yet. Or maybe he has. Well, what is alternative? So, I mean, garnet
Garnet
tops,
on garnet.
gold pant. Okay. Mine's white top, garnet pants. Garnet on garnet looks like pajamas. Don't like it.
I like the garnet on garnet. Yeah, but the white on garnet's not bad either. So road uniforms, right? No, I guess garnet is home.
Yes. Yeah, we wore against Georgia Tech in 2020.
The white on white isn't bad either.
Yeah.
That's my Punt Rooski days.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are all good options, right? Not nothing with black.
Correct.
It doesn't look good, number one. It's crazy that Mickey Andrews' final game at Florida State, they were wearing this monstrosity of a uniform. I don't even remember, wasn't it like a garnet helmet in black? Everything else was black. Isn't that what it was?
It was like the Nike Combat. It was a different shade of garnet, gold numbers, and I think the helmet was black.
That's what it was. It was just so goofy, man. It really just, you've got a pretty good product with the color combination and the helmets. Just roll with it.
The schools they would never in a million years ask to change anything, and then we are the ones that just, oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, we'll do it, it. You know, I mean, look at UCLA. I mean, they're not a great storied program by any stretch.
No.
They've been wearing the same uniforms forever. Like they've never been like, hey, and they've gone to different suppliers. They've been Nike, they've been Adidas.
I think Michigan's done some different uniform combinations, I think, in the past, right?
Well, yeah, they'll have a yellow. Like they'll have a yellow. Usually either blue or white tops, but now they've got a yellow top with new.
I don't feel like they ever changed their helmet though.
Correct.
I don't feel like Ohio State does that. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess everybody's done it a little, except Alabama.
You can go retro. You can go retro and involve some of your secondary colors. Black is not a secondary color.
Yeah, see, I think it'd be cool. Maybe once every couple years, maybe they wear the helmet that that used to have the state of Florida with state on it. Like that would be, you throw in bag, but not just, hey, here's some more money for Nike.
Yeah. There's a photo, or actually it was a tweet that Jordan put out, him announcing that he's an official ambassador for Rising Spear. And it's a photo of him in his game day jersey, like in an actual game action photo of him. But everything's been stripped off of the jersey that has any sort of, resemblance or, emblematic of Florida State, like the tribal trim, the FSU, like it's nothing. So it looks like kind of a Boston college football player. I'm like, why can't they just add the old Florida outline logo? And don't put state on, just the state of Florida, make it a yellow outline, put on the jersey so you at least know it's like, hey, it's a kid from Florida, but maybe that's still too close. Maybe that likeness can't be used.
Right.
Anyhow.
Apparently.
Grumpy BK is back. He didn't like us ignoring his question. Says, here's a friendlier question, perhaps.
Huh. That was quick.
Yeah. On your Wake Up War chant for Wednesday, when discussing if and when Jordan Travis can take the next step, do you think the loss of Kenny Dillingham in exchange for bringing in a dedicated quarterback coach in Tony Tokarz this offseason is helping or hurting his development and confidence in the system? Or is it too soon to tell? I don't know why, again, Jordan hasn't been able to make the strides that I thought he would make. I was just expecting much more efficient, crisp passing, decision-making, finding guys, getting the ball out, and it's just not happening. There's pressure. They're blowing plays dead. He's getting, quote-unquote, sacked a lot. Not a lot, but it's happening within the course of an 11-on-11 period throughout practice. Again, I just thought he was going to be just so much more confident and decisive in his decisions. Now, again, I'm looking at him and the ball. I'm not focusing on who's getting open. I've just never been a guy that thinks, man, if you're going to run 6 reps, I have a hard time thinking that on 4 of them, no one's going to get open. Like, no one's going to be even remotely open. Like, sometimes you're going to have to take a little bit of a chance. But then to bring it back to the question, I don't know how I could blame Tony Tokarz on that. I don't think Tony's doing anything that's going to throw Jordan off of his game. Now, if Kenny was still here, would he be better? Maybe, I guess. But if we're going to dive into that, that's probably the too soon to tell category. Let's see him go through a game week or two and see how he performs.
And I will say this, again, I'll go back to the last month, really the whole season that Jordan played, but specifically the last month, maybe starting with the North Carolina game. That guy, that quarterback, just that dude, that quarterback, is good enough to get you to 8 wins, right?
Yes.
He is. If he's healthy and still has his mobility, which he would, because he'd be healthy. So even if he doesn't get any better at all, like maybe he's just not that guy. Maybe he's not the guy that sees it as quickly as other people, that gets rid of it as quick as other people. He still can make plays. And I think, to be fair, we should both admit we didn't watch a lot of practice during the season last year. So maybe he doesn't look much different now. He probably doesn't.
No, he doesn't. Yeah, he hasn't regressed.
Than he did last
regressed.
year. I don't want people to think he's regressed. Yeah. He's not been a bad football player. It's not like, oh, good grief, what is this? It's not been like that at all. He is the guy we've always seen. That guy can make plays. That guy is not Drew Brees. But if he stays just who he is and can stay healthy, you're okay with him. He'll make more plays with his arm because he's got more people to throw to. But he's still not going to be Drew Brees. He's not going to throw for 3,800 yards. I don't know that he's built like that, but he's built still to win games. He can go win you games. And you might have him for 2 years, so he will improve. It just stands to reason. He will get better, but will he get like NFL draftable better? Will he be a second-day pick in the NFL draft? Will he improve that much? I don't know. That's probably asking too much. But most quarterbacks have deficiencies, man. Yeah. There aren't a lot of throw them out. Bryce Young's out there. If there were, they wouldn't be here, apparently. They're going to get paid a lot of money to go somewhere else, to USC or Alabama. So he's good enough. But we haven't seen that jump yet. It's also been, it's been 3.5 months. I made this point on headlines earlier in the week. It's only been about 4 months since that last game and not a lot of practice time. So when did we think when is the leap supposed to happen? In January when he's not being coached and he's doing a lot of off-season stuff?
Yeah, because I think you're not going to a bowl game. Your body's healing. You're probably doing nothing. I don't want to say nothing, but I mean, you definitely have to be looking at the playbook. I mean, you're definitely looking at old film from the last season. Although, I don't know, maybe they're getting away. Maybe he's unplugging. I mean, he's allowed to do that. We shouldn't think that he's going to do nothing but look at football. But, yeah, I would just figured that this offseason, man, you're on the mend. I mean, you have to have a full – I mean, this is his 4th year on campus at Florida State. This is his 5th year of being in a college football program, his 3rd season with his coaching staff. Maybe we'll see it in those 25 preseason practices in July.
Maybe we see it Saturday. Maybe. And I'm not being facetious. Maybe you do. Maybe in a real setting like that with maybe, I don't know. I don't know what they would do, what they would give him, what weapons he would have.
Maybe a little looser whistle, let him kind
that would help a lot too, guys, for real. If you should know that too. If a lineman gets near him at all and taps him on the shoulder, not taps him on the shoulder like he's coming behind to strip sack him and he's being unblocked, it's going to be a blindside hit. No, he's being blocked and he reaches over the lineman and taps Jordan Travis on the shoulder, they blow it dead. Well, in a million years, that's not going to be a sack. But they blow it dead for the purposes of whatever the purpose is there. So we'll see maybe if it's a looser whistle, if he can get outside, if he can make plays. And I would make plays with his arm. And I will say this, he did have a really good throw to start the practice on Tuesday. Just ripped it down the middle of the field to Malik McClain. It was that thing they do right at the beginning of practice where it's 11 on 11, the team stuff. He took 2 steps back after catching the shotgun, planted and whistled it in there, a lot like the parchment play. So just sprinkle some of that in. You're not Jameis Winston. You're not going to be living in the middle of the field. I don't know that he'll ever live in the middle of the field. But if he can sprinkle some of those plays in to keep him honest, he is still really, really good at the throws down the sideline. Though Danny Werfel lob it to Riedel Anthony throws, he's really good at that. And if he can sprinkle in some middle of the field stuff to go along with his elite athleticism, okay, man, he's better than he was last year, and that should hopefully result in more passing yards and a few more wins.
Why not Christian Ponder to Rodney Smith down the sideline type throws? I mean, why?
That's probably better. That's a little more recent. Not that much more. That was it's 2009, buddy. How about that? It's 13 years ago, that play.
All right, let's go to tempo ourselves. We got about a half dozen questions left, and we're already at the 45-minute mark. JT Knowles 2K2. Hi, Aslan and Corey. Wake up! What's your favorite spring game memory? I feel like we answered this not too long ago, but we'll entertain it. I know a lot of people will mention Jameis throwing a touchdown on his first ever pass in Doak, and a lot of people have forgotten the 90s R&B concert following the 18 game with Salt and Peppa performing for 3 hours, and Vanilla Ice was there too. My favorite memory came after the 2012 spring game. I was waiting to get autographs from players with my father when Mark Stoops walked out. I walked up to him and asked for his autograph. Maybe it was just because I was super young, but Coach Stoops was just super nice to me. He asked me what my name was and signed the hat I had brought. Also, I had to do a double take a few weeks ago whenever I heard Corey mention that he had spent the weekend in the Cherokee, North Carolina casino. I was there at the time, but I couldn't really do anything except play in the arcade and the bowling alley due to being underaged. See, Warchant loves the kids. We got young guys on the show too.
So we're thinking he's 19?
Like 20 or so.
18,
I saw him at Hauser after a game.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right.
As always, thank you guys for answering my questions and for all that you do. Support the sponsors, players with merchandise, and YouTube accounts. And as always, go Noles. I'll mix mine up. I think I said, I don't know if it was actually in the game, but I think it was the 2004 spring game. Whenever Cromartie first got to campus, Cromartie was playing receiver in a spring game, and it was like, and he caught a long touchdown. I don't know if it was actually in the game, but that's like my favorite spring memory. But if we have to go to a game, 2016, Orlando, Malik Henry showing us, his ability in closing out the game in a legitimate, stressful game situation kind of. And all right, we got this thing settled. We're good. We are on track. We were not. But
correct. Yeah, that didn't work out. I will always remember that, too, because I thought he was really impressive. Ira and Jeff were always like, all he did was throw to the tight end. I'm like, he just looked like a quarterback.
Yep.
He looked poised. He looked like you could see what they saw and that there's something there. He made a couple really nice throws. He didn't make any terrible throws. He seemed completely in control. But I remember asking Jimbo about him. Man, is that how good did you think he played? Is that what you expected? Is that kind of the starting off point for somebody that could be, I don't remember how I worded the question, but somebody could be really good. And he was essentially right away, slow down. He's got a lot to learn. He's got a lot of maturing to do. And it turned out Jimbo was right on that front because, that was maybe one of the bigger catastrophes in Florida State recruiting history. Not just because of the one kid. I don't want to just put on that. There have been busts go through the end of time. But what he did to that room, what he did to that position, and they have still yet to recover, truly, from what Malik Henry did. What are you going to do, though? What are you going to do? I don't really have one. I was thinking about it. Kalen LeBourne, that run and his quote afterwards was great. And seeing how fast Tamarian Terry was on that play in particular was pretty eye-opening. But, yeah, man, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, I can't think of any spring game moments. Yeah. Which go to the spring game, guys. It's fun. So it's not a waste of time. I feel like if you're listening to this, you're like, well, I'm not coming there. He just keeps poo-pooing, taking a big dump all over it. But no, it's fun. It's enlightening. It can be, but I can't think of, other than the Jameis play, there's not another play that comes immediately to mind, and that's too easy of an answer.
Island Chief, wake up! Let's take a trip in the Wayback Machine. Last year, there was lots of talk about culture, buy-in, family, etc. You guys offered some insight on it that resonated with me. Third spring now, mostly Norvell's team now. Do you see it making more or less difference than you considered a year ago? Or is it just Jimmy's and Joe's? Ooh, yeah. If the reason that I would say 8 wins is, Micah Pittman, at the time, Winston Wright, Jimmy's and Joe's for sure. That was cool. Again, when he got the job, we just felt from an organizational tone level, setting the bar, they were already better day one once they replaced Willie Taggart with MikeNorvell. Just felt like there was going to be a different kind of rhythm and tempo and just an overall approach to things. That did not pay off in 2020. Part of me started thinking, how bad would they have been any worse with Willie in 2020? But that's for barely a whole.
No, they wouldn't have been because they would have had a better offense.
So, but it felt good to think, all right, whatever. So 2020 didn't work out the way it did that we were hoping it was going to. But then they went on these team bonding things. They went to Bainbridge or wherever in rural Southwest Georgia, and then they sat around a campfire and talked about their upbringing and coming together. It's like, all right, yeah, man, this is good stuff. I like this. But, when you're fielding a punt against Florida in the swamp, apparently that stuff doesn't matter. Yeah, man, it's players. Again, culture. I had a really smoking hot tweet ready to go at halftime of the North Carolina, Kansas game with North Carolina seemingly on the precipice of winning a national title about, man, just imagine what's going to happen when Hubert gets his culture really settled in there. Because, year one, and he takes his team to the national title game. So,
yeah, but I think part of that, though, is like I've defended Roy Williams to Jeff forever.
I love Roy,
because
by the way.
Jeff just calls him rolling out there, Roy. But, what Roy was smart about was he's like, man, I've got better players than you. And I'm not gonna try to. I want more possessions, because the more possessions there are in a basketball game, the more chance I have of beating you, because my players are better than yours. Why would I shorten the game? Why would I not want to run at all times? Why would I maybe be a little looser defensively? Because I know that over time my guys are better offensively than you. They're more skilled. We're going to win more often than not. But Hubert did instill something with that team defensively. Now, you can call it culture, you can call it coaching or whatever it was, but he did get through. Those were the same guys that were terrible last year. Not terrible, that weren't great last year. And they weren't very good to start the year, but something flipped. And I think when it comes to this conversation, nobody here would ever suggest that culture is what wins 12 games. You have a great culture, you're going to win. It just doesn't happen. You need players. But if you have a foundational culture where these you're going to have 25, 30 new guys coming into this to this roster this year. If there's a foundational culture where they do, they do work really hard, and there is a pace and an urgency to their practices, that will matter. And I brought this up, Aslan. I don't know if you've noticed it, and I don't even necessarily know it's a thing. I just brought it up, but I have noticed when those players are walking off the field beside us as we're getting ready to do interviews, or as we're doing interviews, and they're walking behind us, it seems to me there is a lot more actual football talk. Like, it will be a veteran talking to a younger guy about a particular play, and they're going back and forth, not arguing, but a guy like, well, I did this. He's like, no, you were supposed to. And I think that stuff matters a little bit. It does not matter in the grand scheme if you don't have players. But if you do get good players and they do really care, well, then that's it. That's the best of both worlds, man. That's why Florida State went to the Sweet 16 4 years in a row, because you had good players that also bought in. Then last year you got hurt and culture didn't matter. So, there's the other side of it.
What's your most memorable shot at the Masters? Larry Mize's chip in on 11? Would it be Jack Nicklaus's putt on 17 in 86, or Tiger Woods' shot on 16? See you Saturday. All right, yeah, Alan Chief, come out to Hotel Indigo, noon, meet and greet. Mine's Tiger on 16.
I was old enough I was watching the Larry Mize thing with my parents and one of my parents' friends. I don't know what I was, 11 or 12. And I think it was Greg Norman he was in the playoff with, yes, of course, because Norman always lost those kind of things. And they were all rooting for Larry Mize because he was like an Augusta kid. He wasn't he wasn't really well known. He wasn't a huge star. And then for him to chip in from off the green, like it was 140 feet away, I remember them all yelling in excitement. We all did, like, wow. So that was probably my most memorable moment. That Tiger chip, though, is just ridiculous. The only thing that ruins for me is the high five he gives his cat, Steve Williams. I mean, it's like a high wrist. Like they banged wrists. It wasn't even close. I think they had to go back and do another high five because they screwed it up so bad. Like they missed it, and then they did it again, and then they gripped their hands, like their fingers together. They interlocked them. So that almost ruins the moment for me. Like Larry Mize did a little dance, and I bet he connected on his high five.
Yeah, I would say iconic, though, is Nicklaus's putt. Like him like stalking it down and lifting his putter up and like strutting at it like that. You can take a still photo.
But the guy, whoever's announcing it, being like better than most on the Tiger thing, better than most, and then it hangs on the edge of the cup.
Pretty sure it's Vern. I think Vern Lundquist was on 16 doing the call.
So maybe that was another one that the guy was saying better than most. I think that was the NBC guy, so that might have been a U.S. Open. But yeah, Vern's on the call, and he's like, have you ever in your life seen something? Because it hung on the cup. Yeah, that was nuts too.
Travis H. Wake up! What's your favorite cereal? I myself have been addicted to Apple Jacks since childhood. LOL. Keep up the good work. Perpetuate the positivity. Go Noles.
I don't eat cereal. Haven't eaten it in at least a decade. And I was never a huge guy. Growing up, I ate Frosted Flakes, but they're pretty gross, man, because they get soggy really quick. I do remember that. And basically, you're chewing it at the end. Like chewing just gross, just wet, soggy nonsense. But mine was always Cocoa Krispies.
Cocoa Krispies go soggier than quicker than Frozen Flakes.
You pile it in the bowl, like a lot of it. You pour the milk in there about halfway up, and then you're just so most of the Cocoa Krispies aren't exposed to the milk.
Okay.
They're above the milk, and you take your spoon and you dip them into the milk as you're rising to your mouth, and then it's snap, crackle, and pop all in my mouth. So that's how the game I played with Cocoa Krispies, and then you can drink the milk at the end, and it's chocolate milk.
Oh man, I as a child, as a latchkey kid whose parents both worked, cereal was a huge part of my diet in the mornings, and when I came home from school, I couldn't tell you a favorite, but man, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, obviously, Waffle Crisp, that was solid. Big fan of that for a long while. I like Fruity Pebbles. I still have like a bowl of multigrain Cheerios every day as like part of a midday snack, although I think they put a lot of sugar on it, but whatever, I'll cheat. I never got into Apple Jacks, though. I remember being really stoked and bothering my parents to buy me grape nuts. I'm like, I love grapes, and I like peanuts and things of that nature. And then I'm like, this tastes nothing like grape nor peanuts. So, like, grape nuts is probably my least favorite.
Yeah, they were kind of gross. I remember thinking that, too. Like, oh, this would be good. And it basically wasn't it just to help you poop? Wasn't that grape nuts' his whole thing, the fiber count?
Maybe.
You remember that Saturday Night Live commercial they had where the cereal called Colon Blow?
No.
And all it did was tout the fiber in it. It had 900 bowls. It was the equivalent of 900 bowls of grape nuts.
Nice.
Yeah, it's called Colon Blow.
What's the other one? Golden Grams? Was that one?
Okay, yeah. I mean, that is a cereal, yeah.
Oh, Golden Grams. That was up there, too. I love cereal's great, man. Cereal's great. Every morning, I'd walk downstairs, and at my spot at the table, there was a bowl and a box of cereal. My mom would leave it there for me before she'd go to work. God bless her. Love her. She's still here with us, everybody. It's fine. Tennis ump. Linebacker reports have me pleasantly surprised, and in a good way. And so I think that our defense is going to be pretty solid this year. I surmise from the reports that Micah will be our primary punt returner, but what are you guys thinking about kickoff returns, as they have been very subpar the last few years? Thanks, as always, for all you guys do. Yeah, that was Winston. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you are welcome. Shout out Birmingham, Tennis Ump. That was Winston Wright's account, so that's a bummer. He was going to be the kick returner. But I think the other day on Tuesday when Azareye'h was doing kickoff returns, so was Pokey, so was Ja'Kai, so was Sam McCall, so was Lawrence Toafili. I would say it felt like Pokey looked the most fluid and natural of them all, and I don't remember him returning kickoffs at all.
He's been back there before, I think, but
okay.
Maybe it's easier for him to catch them than a punt. It can't be any harder. Unless it was on fire. That was the only way he'd be worse catching kickoffs than punts. I didn't really pay attention to that. They can't, again, same thing. They can't be worse at returning kicks than they were last year. I would not make Ja'Kai Douglas doesn't have that in him. You guys know I think he can be something. He might be a player on this offense and have some really nice moments. I just don't think he's a kick returner, man. I don't. He doesn't hit the hole real hard. He's looking for holes instead of hitting a crease. You know what? The way he runs and his top end speed, I wouldn't. Maybe they don't do it now because he's still kind of overcoming an injury. But I would give Benson a shot. Ooh. I think he's got the necessary size and speed. Because a kickoff returner, man, there aren't a lot of, I don't know, who was the guy? Dante Halls.
Yeah.
I guess he was more of a punt returner. Remember that guy from the Chiefs?
Oh, yeah, the human joystick.
Human joystick. Great nickname, by the way. The last great nickname in sports that didn't involve the person's initials. Yeah. But you need a guy like Tamarick Vanover, man. He was a big dude. He was 215 and could run. And when you're running full speed, those guys coming down will bounce off you. Like my man Keith Gavin. My man Keith Gavin against Michigan. I like that body type as a kick returner.
Okay.
You hit full speed, you're bigger than most, and you're as fast as all these guys, so they might bounce off you, and you turn a 21-yard return into a 60-yard return because those tacklers just bounce off you. So I wouldn't mind giving Benson a shot.
Yeah, you don't need to be you don't need
to have great
quick
moves, man. Yeah. It's Deion never returned a kick at Florida State. Not one kickoff did he return, which is kind of crazy in hindsight. Same with Buckley. But they were punt returners because they were real shifty and could stop on a dime. Now, Deion ended up being a very good kick returner in the pros. So, again, they probably should have used that. But But yeah, man, it's a whole different skill set. You don't have to be quick in a phone booth like you do in a punt return. You don't have guys on you as you catch it. You see a little tiny crease. The great ones see a little tiny crease and they bust through it.
I can't believe we've been doing this show for 4 years and we still say stuff like it couldn't possibly be worse.
Literally, can there be a way they would be worse at returning
they're not necessarily
kicks?
going to be better. There's no guarantee they're going to be any better at this either.
Yes, they could still be awful.
Yes.
They can't be worse than awful. They can't be worse than unwatchable.
They could fumble it. They haven't done that,
Good
thankfully.
point. They could start blocking them in the back like Willie's teams did, and you start every possession at the 6.
Yeah. But I think, obviously they did address both of those things. Unfortunately, the auto accident happened with Winston, but I think Micah will obviously pay dividends, returning punts. We'll see what happens with kickoff returners. Again, there doesn't seem to be there's still, again, it was like the Tuesday, and they're still got 5 guys back there kind of shuffling and trying to figure that out. So that kind of shows you where they're at right now.
Right.
We got 3 more, including a doozy from our guy Dave in Kentucky. I'm going to have to take a sip of water before we do that one. Quinn67, wake up. I am not going to be able to make it down to the Garnet and Gold game. You people and your kids. Too much going on with the kids. Too far from Charlotte. All right, that's fine. I get it.
It's fair.
I do have a great spring game memory. Probably 92, maybe 93. It's the first time I remember the stadium being open for the scrimmage. Walked in, watched it. No tickets needed. They had the crowd enter in through the home side gates and sit on the side. That's crazy, right? They charge money for this now.
Yeah.
You got to do what you got to do. Across the stadium, sitting about 30 rows up, was Bobby Bowden.
Yeah.
As the game moved on, we stopped paying attention to him being over there all alone. However, right before the end of the game, he was moving around the lower perimeter of the stadium, and I saw him in the south end zone. My buddy and I left the cooler. Yeah, you could bring an entire full cooler back then, and walk towards him. When we got there, they had just blown the ending whistle, and Coach stopped to talk to us for about 3 or 4 minutes. It was amazing. He told us the defense was going to be pretty good that year. Not a stretch statement, as we were always good back then. The 90s. Great day. I called my dad when I got back to my place. No mobile phones, obviously. And he was amazed that we got to speak to him. Everyone, enjoy your weekend. Go Noles.
What if he did a 1-800-COLLECT?
Yeah.
Remember those commercials?
Oh, yeah. I would use that.
Kids listen and have no idea what a collect call is.
No, they don't. I used to do to get a ride back from like the golf course or something. I'd be like, you have a 1-800-COLLECT call from Mom and Sal. Pick me up at the golf course. So I would just spurt it out. Alice, you come pick me up. It was awesome. Shout out Quinn67. Thank you for the story, man. Hopefully you'll be in New Orleans. You can't miss both. Cannot miss both of these.
Right. Correct.
All right, 2 more. Our guy Ronye, Gwinnett, stand up. GA Knowles 86. Wake up, guys. What do you think FSU has to do to be more competitive with NIL like other big Power 5 schools? Also, any updates on Destin Hill? No. Maybe Michael Langston's got something on the recruiting chat that we already have done by the time you listen to this. But we haven't spoke to Greedy Vance. When we speak to Greedy, we hope to get some intel. Corey, to the NIL. Listen, they had a top 15 recruiting class, maybe top 20 after Armella lost his 5th star.
Don't you think what happens, though, is these stories leak out about the Texas lineman story, and then Saban saying what he said about Bryce Young last year, and then the A&M, good grief, and then the rumors / truth about Travis Hunter. You hear all this, and you're like, man, Florida, you don't hear numbers when it comes to Florida State necessarily. But trust me, they are competing as well as I feel like they can, considering they don't have $25, $30 million, $40 million that Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State have, and Oklahoma and Texas have. They just don't. So they've got
the money at Georgia. Like, what do Georgia grads do? You guys are just a bunch of dentists just throwing all this money.
A lot of dentists, a lot of dentists, a lot of guys on Wall Street. They call Georgia the Yale of the South. So of course, stuff like that. Sports writers, very lucrative. I'm giving back
Grady School. What up, Grady School?
I'm giving back $48,000 a year just so they can get a lineman. No, it's just been around so much longer, and there's a lot of family. There's a lot of rich alums that went there in the 30s, and then now their grandkids still have season tickets and give back. It's just that kind of school. But yeah, it's also, they get $25 million in extra from ESPN than Florida State does. So they get to spend that money that Florida State doesn't necessarily have. So yeah, man, it's I don't think they're not uncompetitive. I mean, you saw that class last year wasn't terrible by any stretch. It was the second best class in the ACC? And it was ahead of a bunch of SEC teams, second or third probably, and it was ahead of some SEC teams. I just think that's where you're going to live. I don't know in this day and age that Florida State could ever go out and land a top 5 recruiting class. What his goal will have to be is to land a top 20 recruiting class and a top 5 transfer class. I think that's how you're going to have to live until NIL is somehow legislated, which it won't be probably.
Florida State, third best class in the ACC, behind North Carolina and Clemson.
Okay.
21st in the nation. Also,
it's probably where you're going to live.
Not that I should have doubted our guy random_John, but he is correct. It is $50,000 annually to every Texas offensive lineman. So.
Yep. Every single one.
Oh boy. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully Rising Spear is doing that, but again, there's Mackenzie Milton's got his company. There's numerous NIL sort of outfits out there. I don't want to say one's better than the other, but Rising Spear not taking money away from the players at all, not charging any sort of commission fees, like that seems to be your best bang for buck if you're a player trying to get money. But in talking with Ira about this over a text message, Corey, there's like lack of exclusivity. So there's certain guys that, all right, like, I'll sign up for Rising Spear and I'll do some events for them to get some money, but I also want to go do Mackenzie's thing because Mackenzie can get me this gig and whatever, I can get 10% taken away, but that's still more money. So there's like all this double, triple dipping, which, whatever. It's just, I guess, ultimately like Rising Spear is going to be the recruiting fund kind of, and then maybe these other ones will maybe evolve into being the ones that assist these players.
Retention. They'll be the retention fund.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, Rising Spears, they're setting up that database with players being able to log on and find gigs, if you will. So yeah, they've, Florida State's, I don't know who's you could say A&M's obviously doing the best, but is it because they're the smartest or do they have the best process and the most money? So Florida State doesn't have the most money, so they're going to have to figure out ways to be kind of the way they've always done it, the way we've always done it, man. We need to figure out ways to do more with less. That's not going to change unless, Corey, next time he goes to Cherokee, parlays 7 games and puts his life savings on it,
Right.
And that time.
Then you think I'm going to give that money to Akeem Dent? No, I'm living on an island somewhere.
There's no promise, though. Listen, you guys talk about stars don't matter. You want the guys that want to be at Florida State. Well, then,
nobody that wants to win football games talks like that.
But I'm just saying, so, all right, stars don't matter or whatever. It's like, all right, well, all right, so then have 3-star guys. But then if stars do matter, do you want to be the guy that spends $20,000 on Ermon Lane? I hate saying that. Like, it sounds like I'm picking on the guy. Remove the name. Insert 5-star player. Yeah. And you pay $10,000 to help get that kid to campus. And he does nothing of consequence in the game. Ermon Lane did. Shout out Louisville Thursday night, 2014, my dude. That would suck. I don't know. For me, $10,000, that would hurt a lot. That would hurt a lot, man. So who knows? Again, we got to be better, maybe more efficient, money ball, figure out these guys, get sabermetrics on them in high school to figure out which ones fit best. Hashtag fit family. Last one. Here we go. It's a soliloquy. It's Dave. It's Bardstown, Kentucky. Let me take a deep breath. 3 weeks without a Renegade Express. I haven't been this upset since Aslan snubbed me during Trench Talk. If today's post goes a little long, you brought this on yourselves. Corey, your knowledge of Florida State jersey numbers would make Rain Man jealous. Today, we are Terrell Buckley to the power of Anquan Bolden, plus Bill Peterson's second season away from kickoff versus Duquesne.
Terrell Buckley to the power of Anquan Bolden, so 27 to the 4th power?
But Anquan plus Bill Peterson's second season away. So what's that, 70?
I don't
What was
know. I
the
think
second
Bill
season?
Peterson was like
72?
maybe 63.
Okay, so to the 67th power, I guess. 2 to the 67th power? Well, no, 27 to... No, I don't.
Yeah, 27 to the 67th power is like,
number.
that's a million.
Yeah.
That's like we're playing football in 31-19.
Okay, so 27 to the 4th power, then you add 68 or whatever to it. Although I don't know if that's the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally proper way. But he's a doctor. He would know. Anyhow,
It's been a minute since I was in a math class, but isn't 27 to the 4th power? Doesn't that mean 27 times 27 times 27 times 27?
Maybe he's thinking Dion. Because, 27 to the 4th power is
That's
a
a
huge
lot.
number.
Yeah.
It's a huge number. All right.
Yeah, Dion probably makes more sense, right? Dion to the 4th power would be 4, 8, 16, 32. Something like that. Then plus that probably makes more. Yeah. Okay.
Continuing, I think Meat and the players are trying their best. Maybe what the baseball team is missing is fan support in the form of nicknames. When Carry On comes up to bat, do they play Carry On My Wayward Son on the loudspeaker?
No, but the animals sing it.
Correct.
So they got that taken care of. The animals do sing Carry On My Wayward Son. There'll be hits when you are done.
Yes.
So you got that covered.
How about Scalaro Face? Say hello to my little friend. Wyatt Cruella DeVille.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good.
Davis Hare Stadium.
What's that?
Jordan Hare Stadium.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I didn't understand the reference. Yeah, that's funny. Good. All right, Dave.
Connor and Tibbs. Crockett and Tubbs stretch.
Crockett and Tubbs. Yeah.
Reese Albert. Reese Albert just sounds like an MLB name.
Well, they do Fat Albert for him. Yeah. Hey, it's Reese Albert.
Want to have a good time? Hey. With Gene Deckerhoff's retirement, it's time for Corey to write the story of the top 25 figures in FSU football who never coached or played.
25's way too much. I'll do 3.
Okay.
That's the funny thing with Ira. He always is like, when we're thinking about things to write, he's like, do you want to do 5? Let's do 5 things we're surprised by. And he gave me the list, and I'm like, man, I don't think that one was much of a surprise. And he hasn't really been doing all that much lately anyway. Why don't you go with 4? And he's like, because he always gets on to me like it's got to be like a round number or half of a round number. Yeah. And I'm like, man, nobody cares. It's not like they're going to cancel their subscription because you only had 4 surprises instead of 5. And so, but he's like, it's just so dumb. It seems weak to have 4. And I'm like, well, do 3. 3, you can do 3 surprises. That sounds maybe better than 4. But he ended up earlier this week, he went with his 4 surprises. So I talked him into it. I felt good about it.
Attaboy. By the way, 25 to the 4th power is 390,625.
What is?
20. That's 25 to the 4th power. Why did 25?
Well, who's 25?
I don't know. I did a typo. 531,441 is 27.
What about 2 to the 4th power?
Stop. Please stop.
Is that 32?
It's 16.
Is it?
Yeah.
2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is... Oh, yeah. All right. Okay.
Corey, don't worry a hair on your head about missing that Pearl Jam concert. Jeremy spoke, and he said there are some really cool things to do in and near Louisville. You'll be a better man if you can complete all these adventures. 1, the longest cave in the world, Mammoth Cave, is 1.5 hours south. 2, Abraham Lincoln's birthplace and boyhood home are 1 hour away. 3, Mary Todd Lincoln's house in Lexington is 1 hour away. 4, Bernheim Arboretum is 30 minutes away and offers great hiking trails daily and nature education Saturday mornings. 4, obviously, all the best bourbon in the world is made either in or between Louisville and Bardstown. That's a 45-minute drive. 5, best of all, Dan Squatch and his girlfriend Ida will be traveling from Virginia and staying with us. You may remember we met on Warchant's Knoll Harmony subsidiary, and last summer I took T-Bone fly fishing with Dan Squatch as our guide. I promise your trip to Louisville will have an even flow. See you next week.
I got great news on that front. Appreciate it, Dave. I feel like Dave takes more time with his post than like I do with one of my stories. I need to start focusing more on my stories. I feel like he's outworking me. Got great news on that front, Aslan. Did I tell you that story that Pearl Jam I've had these Pearl Jam and Nashville tickets for 2.5 years, since before COVID, obviously. And they announced that they were going to be in Nashville finally the night of the Louisville game. So pretty disappointed with that. But I got some great news on that front. Saturday night in Louisville, there is something called the Bourbon and Beyond Festival, music festival. And guess who's headlining?
No.
Pearl Jam. That's
Let's
Saturday
go.
night. So
All right.
Friday night, I go to the game. Might get up there early on Thursday night to see Alanis Morissette. Although I can't. I don't know if I'm going to spend that money for Alanis Morissette. I'd go see it if she was playing down the street, right? But yeah. So anyway, then Friday night we got the Louisville game, and then Saturday night I still get to see Pearl Jam. It won't be a 3-hour show because it's a music festival, but still, it's better than nothing. It's like it was meant to be.
Yeah. Have you figured out if you can sell your tickets back on the?
No, not yet. I'm going to have Stephanie do a deep dive into that at some point this week and get those tickets sold. And then I'll buy these passes to, I think it's called the Bourbon and Beyond Festival. They got Jack White is playing there on Thursday along with Alanis Morissette, and then a ton of bands I've never heard of, but I'm old, so why would I have heard of them?
Okay. I actually lied. We had one slide in at the last second. Warpath Null, 2 questions here. First off, wake up, fellas. I'm trying to pull this up because we actually did a story on this, and I'm trying to read it live while all right, I found it. Here we go. First question, how did Pokey get the nickname Pokey? Shout out Ira Schofel, did a story on this, 2018, warchant.com. Speaking to the media before Florida State's practice Wednesday morning, Wilson explained that his grandmother called him Pokey because she thought he resembled a character from the popular Pokemon cartoon.
Oh, there we go. But he doesn't spell it right. He spells it with a Y.
Right. Ever since then,
just
go ahead.
K-E? It's just K-E, right?
Yeah. Ever since then, everybody be calling me that. So there we go. There we go. The headline of the story is, Gotta Catch 'Em All. FSU's Pokey Wilson making name for himself at wide receiver.
There you go.
2018.
Clever.
Let's get that name made already. Come on. 4 years later, Pokey. Let's go, baby.
Hey, people know who you're talking about when you say Pokey now.
Yeah.
They do.
Okay, last one. How much, if at all, do you think spring practice affects opening game versus fall camp? Actually, let me read that again. How much, if at all, do you think spring practice / game affects opening game versus fall camp?
You read it the same way twice. I still don't quite understand it.
How much, if at all, do you think spring practice? I guess maybe what's going to affect opening game more, like spring practice or fall camp? Fall camp.
Fall camp, yeah. The whole team will be there. You would hopefully be completely healthy, or as healthy as you're going to be, because everybody's recovered from things. And and you're installing. So yeah, I definitely think it's August. August counts more, and you're also doing more like actual game plan stuff.
Yes.
This is a lot of just working on it's all working on yourself. It's not like they're putting any Duquesne stuff. Like this is what Duquesne likes to do. They don't do that right now. So yeah, it's definitely that August, and because it's also like it's football season then. Like it's the cycle of life. Like those kids get out there on August 9th and they're like, yeah, the opener's coming up. It's not 5.5 months away. You've got to really bear down because the opener's coming up in 2.5 weeks, and your job really is on the line if you don't play well. It's not just a spring practice. So yeah, man, I definitely think it's more. If that was the question, August is definitely more important.
Maybe one time we'll do the show, Corey, where you'll have the questions up on your screen too. And then you can kind of like.
I don't like that. I like to be surprised. I like to be in the moment.
He does, everybody. Which is it's a cool thing. Corey doesn't want this show to be choreographed at all. But all the great, everything you see on television is choreographed. Not that we're a television show. Not that headlines is choreographed. But I do wonder sometimes, and I'm sure Gene Williams certainly does. Wow, if Aslan actually had the show organized and had segments and planned everything out, I wonder how awesome it would be.
Well, we'll never know, will we, buddy? We'll never know.
All right, we're going to go to practice. We'll have a full podcast for you folks Friday with observations from Thursday's practice. In the meantime, stay connected to warchant.com and the Jeff Cameron Show on 93.3 FM in Tallahassee, as well as Warchant TV. Thumbs up on the way out if you made it this far. 5-star rating and review, please, as well. Thank you, everybody, for your questions. Good to be back on the ponies. We'll do it again next week as well. For Corey, I'm Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.